Being part of the 2022 Rivers Festival in Guelph is a great pleasure for the Yorklands Green Hub. Our heritage landmark park on York Road is an ideal place to enjoy various birds in migration or in their habitat. We hope to inspire public interest of all ages in the birds around us wherever they are. But here in these mixed meadows, streams, ponds, and wooded trails, we have an ideal place for sharing nature discoveries that often escape our notice on our streetscapes or backyards. Urban ornithology is a part of environmental stewardship that is one of our goals. To strengthen urban resilience, we need to have natural spaces for other species to thrive. And birds are a critically important part of the web of life. The water that flows on through this property flows into the Hermosa River, then joins the Speed River as it runs through the heart of Guelph to Cambridge to be part of the largest watershed in Ontario, the entire Grand River watershed. The Grand River watershed is listed by Parks Canada as one of Parks Canada's heritage rivers. Here at the Yorklands, you will find an ideal place to learn more about ecological sustainability as you notice nature. Today, we are very pleased to have with us wildlife biologist Matthew Isles, whose background in ecology, ornithology, and conservation outreach emphasizes the importance of stewardship of these green spaces to a future that benefits all species, including people. Taking this brief visit with us will show you some of the delights of being a bird watcher. It is being captured by photographer and mixed media artist Donovan Bistari, whose link is on the website as well. Thanks.
So we're just hanging out here at the Yorklands this morning, doing a bit of bird watching. It's a beautiful day. There's lots of stuff singing. There's one bird actually right at the top of this tree called a little chipping sparrow. But there's another pretty cool little bird here, a warbler, that we might try and find. It's called an American redstart. I've heard a couple of them here this morning. And it's a bird that I thought was like more of a big forest kind of breeding bird here in North America, up in Canada, but actually they seem to breed in any number of little foresty patches, including here in the city. Yeah, often, not always, birds are not always the most cooperative of animals. They're doing their own thing, they're hiding out, or they're feeding, or they're singing to kind of mark out their territory, but a lot of these small songbirds are not bothered by what humans are up to in the small scale of things. So patience can be a real key to getting a good look at some of these little birds. I'm pretty sure this redstart's on the edge. It just flew out here. I don't know if you can capture it, but it's on that limb of the spruce that's sticking out towards the top. Just seen a couple of song sparrows carrying food there. You see much more of that at this time of year, like late June, like birds actually carrying food, which means that they're usually taking it to the nest, which is a good sign that they've got young ones that they're looking after. Here comes a goldfinch there, I think. But yeah, this is a good spot as well, particularly as, you know, the birds are kind of concentrating more on looking after their young. Migration's kind of done with for the spring, and we can't yet get excited about fall migration. So the summer is a good time to watch birds, but also to get interested in dragonflies, damselflies, butterflies, in the pollinator gardens here and in these marshy areas. We're going to start seeing a lot more of those kind of animals, and the dragonflies in particular. There's some nice diversity there. Just heard a swamp sparrow singing here as well. Kind of sporadic, but they do that kind of slow kind of song. They're just these like simple notes drawn out and repeated, pretty boring. But once you recognize it, they're a real nice bird to get familiar with. Nice little hot spot here on the edge of, I guess, the most easterly pond. and there's like a bit of marshy habitat here. Some nice kind of big maple trees, willow trees, and yeah, there's quite a few species around here. It's back again here, this indigo bunting. A nice male hanging around, singing, doing these metallic like chip noises you might be able to hear. And then there was also a pair of warbling vireos in this tree, the male singing quite rambunctiously, and there's tree swallows flying around, barn swallows as well over here. And we had a rose-breasted grosbeak a minute ago, and then there's a yellow warbler singing as well, sporadically. So yeah, quite a lot of activity here this morning. Here's the indigo bunting. Mid-morning nap. Yeah, nice common species there that we just saw, the yellow warbler. One of the most common warbler species that you will see in this part of Canada during the summer months especially. And they are bright yellow, like the name suggests, but the males also have these beautiful bright red streaks down the side. I don't know how well that one was cooperating for you to be able to see that, but when you do see it, it's beautiful and striking. And that one was hunting around on the edge of the pond here and catching some insects, but it seemed to be taking that insect straight out of here and probably to a nest that it has along the river here. We're just between the edge of the pond and Clythe Creek. Perfect habitat for yellow warblers. Yeah, that's a cedar waxwing. Like a band of yellow across the tail. It's particularly beautiful. And sometimes on the wings, these it's the thing that gives them their name, these like little red waxy tips. Some of the wing feathers. And there's quite a bit of bird life around here right now. We've seen a few species that we hadn't encountered yet this morning or the other day. We just had a beautiful green heron fly right over us. There's a grey tree frog calling there. One of the first I've heard this year. There's quite a number of yellow warblers here. There's a pair of cedar waxwings close by, and yeah, we also had a brown thrasher that was lurking around in the bushes here, not making too much noise, but it stuck its head out a couple of times. Big, beautiful, long brown bird, big tail, big curved bill, closely related to the mockingbird and the catbird, and the brown thrasher is actually reported to have the widest vocabulary, or the most songs of any songbird, at least in North America, which is pretty cool. But you'll recognize them when they sing because they repeat every song that they're impersonating twice. Be like, choo choo, that kind of thing, but always repeated twice. So there's a pretty common species that you're likely to see here or elsewhere in the city or in your backyard. Nice little song sparrow. That's the male doing its territorial song. A lot of these small songbirds, as we call them, sparrows, robins, finches, etc., warblers, the males have like a typical song that they use to kind of define their territory, and that way they don't have to come to physical blows. They don't have to fight. They just spend their time singing and marking their territory, and that way the other males don't come into their land, come into their area so much. He's just singing away there. This little sparrow, you can tell their song. It's quite variable, and like you can hear the differences between different individuals. often, but usually it's like kind of mechanical. It's in a few different parts. There's usually those first couple of slow notes, doom, doom, and then it goes like chicka, 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 something like that. It's usually like in 3 parts though, starting with those couple of slow notes. The rest can flip around a bit more variably. So this is the eBird app. Really useful tool that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on my Birding for Beginners workshop. But you can download this or you can sign up and just use it on the internet. But essentially you can tally all your species that you have at a certain location. This is everything we've seen this morning. Got a couple more blue jays than that. But yeah, literally you can have a number in for each species. You can specify if you've seen breeding evidence, like you've seen baby birds, you've seen an adult carrying food to the nest. Then you can chart your checklists for the year at each location. And also it's a great way to contribute to citizen science programs. So a lot of this data will get used and analyzed by scientists who are keeping an eye on bird populations at a more continental level. But even, adding checklists in your backyard or at a site that you visit regularly, like the Yorklands here, is a great way to contribute to those research projects. And also it's a great tool to help you learn more birds and chart your own progress through becoming a better bird watcher.
Thank you for sharing a few minutes to learn about some of the natural attributes of this unique heritage landscape in Guelph. On our website, we have captured some of its history since 1900 and welcome public input and old photos of the many public activities that were enjoyed here in the last century. We are working to keep these meadows, ponds, and trails in the country estate-like place for continued public enjoyment. Your donations, memberships, and volunteer hours make this possible.